I know most of you know that I am into the weather, and I consider myself to be a weather geek. And I do study a lot of things about the weather, um, a lot about severe weather, but more recently also about winter weather. And I wanted to give my thoughts about the upcoming winter here in Tennessee. I know this is coming kind of late since we are basically in the second week of December, but I want to go ahead and give my thoughts and opinions about what I think we could possibly be seeing here. Some of this may actually apply for the folks in the Carolinas and other parts of the South also. So hopefully you learn something and find something interesting. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about this. Now, first of all, for this winter, I do want to talk about the El Nino pattern that we're going to be under, or we're currently under. It's a very strong El Nino pattern, and I will spend a lot of time talking about that since that is the dominant thing affecting our winter weather. Um, this will lead to average, or what I think will be average or milder temperatures here in Tennessee, and also we could see below average precipitation. So let's go ahead and talk about El Nino. What exactly is El Nino? An El Nino is a temporary change in the climate of the Pacific Ocean in the region of the equator. Now, you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with here in the United States? Well, that is a big factor into the kind of winter weather we can see. Now, usually with an El Nino, you can see its effects in both the ocean and the atmosphere, and that generally is manifested in the winter in the northern hemisphere, particularly here in the U.S. Now, typically with an El Nino, you see sea surface temperatures in the ocean warm by a few degrees Celsius. Now, in this particular slide, this is a normal pattern. You do see what is an area of warm weather. This is the trade winds that blow around the equator from, I think, 30 degrees to 60 degrees. And this is the winds here. This is what blows winds from east to west. And if you see the area in red, this is an area of warmer sea surface temperatures, which basically means this is a warm, humid area all the way from just, I don't know, somewhere around the Galapagos Islands all the way back to South Pacific and Australia. Now, this area generally is an area that can see pretty good thunderstorms and some pretty significant typhoons just because the air is very unstable, very moist, and things can usually get started pretty good in the way of storms. Now, over here to the right, you do see an area of cold water pooled off the coast of South America. Again, this is a normal situation. Now, when we have an El Nino pattern like the one we're currently in, you do see the winds break down and the area of warmer weather or warmer sea surface temperatures tends to flow back to just off this coast of South America and pool in that area. And then, of course, if it's strong enough, it can pool all the way across Latin America and the Caribbean up into North America. And of course, we will be seeing that this winter simply because the sea surface temperatures here in the Pacific Ocean are the warmest they've been in 20 years. So this is a pretty strong El Nino, so it will be impacting our winter weather very much. Now, we can't really talk about the El Nino pattern without talking about the jet stream. Now, I know some of you probably know what it is, but here we have a better breakdown of it. There's actually two branches of the jet stream. There's the northern branch, which is the polar jet, which is the jet stream around the Arctic, which generally is an area of colder air. And then you have the southern branch, which is the subtropical jet, which generally is a warm, moist, humid air. And what's important about this particular diagram is if down here in South America, since we know we do have warmer sea surface temperatures and an area of warmer air pooling down here, that warm, moist air tends to pull this jet stream of subtropical jet stream farther north over to the reaches of the southern United States from Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, and then into the Gulf states, especially here in the wintertime. Now, let's take a look at the area of last year. Before I do that, let me talk about this area between the two branches of the jet. This is primarily the area that affects a lot of our weather here in the States. And this winter, this area could possibly be warmer, drier, with less precipitation, is because these two jets aren't really converging too much together this year. Now, last year we did have an area that was not under the influence of the El Nino pattern, so therefore the northern branch of the jet stream, the polar branch, was not under any kind of influence to keep it farther north or push it more stabilized farther north. So it did have the opportunity to kind of flow farther south. If you notice, this kind of buckle here that allowed a lot of colder air to kind of penetrate into the eastern United States, and I do believe that was a contributing factor in why we saw a little bit more snow this year in the south. Also, though, with that, if you notice this area here to the left, over the western United States, you notice a pretty strong drought. And obviously, if you've watched the news, you do see California and the West Coast is under significant drought that's been going on for quite some time. So, this was also, in my opinion, maybe a contributing factor to that as well. One thing that I find interesting, though, is the warm air that was here in Alaska. They did have a pretty warm, mild winter. There again, that was because it was under the influence of warm, moist air coming off of the Pacific Ocean and flowing right into the Arctic. And then, of course, here along the east coast of New England up in Canada, you see a stormy area. Of course, we know Boston had a pretty significant weather with a lot of snow this past year. Now, that's completely different from this coming winter. In this last slide, you'll see several things coming into play. First of all, you see the subtropical jet, the southern branch, has moved farther north, mainly because of the influence of that warm, moist air in Latin America and South America, pushing it farther north. So this will give a lot more rain here to the areas out west, which drastically need it. And then also a lot more rain and moisture here over the Gulf states. Now, just how far north that line of area or that area of moisture goes will basically be a contributing factor to if we get any weather here in Middle Tennessee and the Tennessee area in general. Right now, I think we may possibly not be seeing a whole lot, but if this area was to move any to the north, we could possibly see some precipitation and there might possibly be frozen. But again, I don't think that's the pattern. Do want to point out that because this is a very strong El Nino pattern, the area of California could really be in for it. Yes, they do need the rain, but along with that rain that comes in El Nino, they could see a lot of storms. And I think the last significant strong El Nino that have impact that area was in 1998, which did significant damage, millions of dollars worth of damage there. I think 17 people died as a result of mudslides. And so this is something to really watch, see how this will affect California. Um, Hopefully they are prepared for that. Now, also, since this jet is moving far north, it's also impacting the polar jet, the northern branch. You could possibly see this shift farther back to the north, which means there's less of a chance for the colder Arctic air to penetrate the United States like it did last year. So we'll see a warmer, milder area here across a lot of the states with little or no precipitation. Um, so those factors together, I think, are why I'm leaning towards an area or a forecast of little to, I should say, below average precipitation and also warmer or above milder temperatures for us here in Middle Tennessee. Um, Hopefully, um, this will be something that you guys that like milder winters will be able to enjoy. And again, this is just my thoughts. This is definitely not etched in stone. As you know, I'm not a professional meteorologist, and this is just my thoughts on the overall pattern. And hopefully, later on in the spring, maybe February, March timeframe, we might see that pattern break down a little bit, and maybe we could get a little bit more moisture in play. Maybe this jet will move a little bit farther north, or possibly this polar jet could move a little bit farther south, maybe introducing a little bit more colder weather, and maybe we could see a late season snow or some precipitation in that area. But anyway, I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And hopefully, this is what you were wanting to see. And you had some thoughts on it and would like to share your input. If so, feel free. And thanks again for watching.